So I'm going to speak to our young people this week, and I've been to a place that would be one of my favourite places, and that is at the beach and at the sea. And I want to indeed share that story of Jesus meeting the disciples on the beach in his resurrected body. So listen to this. I'm here this morning in one of my favourite places, and that of course is the beach and also the sea. And I want to tell you a story this morning of what happened after Jesus was raised from the dead. And that was that he was on the beach, he was cooking breakfast. It was for the disciples who were feeling so down that they decided to go out and do some fishing. And we know who the disciples were. There was Simon Peter, there was Thomas, there was Nathaniel, there was James and John, who were the sons of Zebedee. And suddenly Peter said, "Look, lads, I'm going out to fish." And they said, "We'll come too." So they all got into the boat, they went out and fished. They spent all night fishing out in the sea, and they never caught a single fish. And as the sun came up the next morning, Jesus was standing on the beach, but the disciples couldn't make out who it was. And Jesus called out to them, "Haven't you caught any fish?" And they actually shouted back, "No, not a single fish." And he said, "Throw your nets on the right hand side of the boat." Well, does it make any difference whether on the right hand side or the left hand side? But they did do what he said. Did they catch any fish? Yes, they caught a huge amount of fish. They caught so many fish that the net was beginning to break. And these big fishermen were using all their strength to pull that net into the boat. Then one of the disciples said to Peter, "That's the Lord on the beach." When Peter heard the disciple saying that, he jumped into the water and he headed for the shore. He swam as quick as he could. The other disciples, they stayed in the boat and they're still struggling to get that net full of fish in. And when Peter got to the beach, he found Jesus there. And do you know what he was doing? Cooking breakfast for them. He has a barbecue lit. It's a charcoal fire. And he says to Peter, "Bring some of those fish that you have just caught." And he cooked breakfast for the disciples. Wow. It just doesn't get any better than that. Breakfast on the beach with the risen, living Jesus. What would happen if the disciples had refused to throw their nets on the right-hand side of the boat? They would have missed this wonderful breakfast on the beach with Jesus. What happens when you and I refuse to do the things that Jesus calls us to do? We miss out on the wonderful blessings that he wants to give us. It's really important that we obey what he calls us to do, isn't it? It was a very simple thing, just to move their nets from the left hand side to the right hand side. But you know what? They did what Jesus said, and they were blessed in doing it, that they actually caught 153 fish altogether. You know, we too will be blessed when Jesus, indeed in his word, tells us to do things, to live the way he calls us to live. And he says that we will receive blessings. Blessings here and blessings of eternal life. Well, here's your song for this morning.